Now this is the demo. Okay, now in Illustrator, same thing, layers. So you have each of your uh, frames on a separate layer. The original was um, this is the original from the student. So basically you can just copy and then frame by frame make a new layer, and then you arrange them and paste them on the individual layers. So that is not a problem. You make a new layer, then paste. You can lock the other layers so you can manipulate your elephant without worrying about manipulating the other ones. Okay, I'm gonna unlock everything for now. I'm gonna have everything visible, and I'm gonna save just normally. Just save it as you would on Illustrator file, just like that. Now we're gonna bring this to After Effects. So this is the no keyframe. This is frame by frame animation. Okay, so new project. So again, here on the software, let's say this is the first time you've seen this. This window here where it says project, this area is your assets window. This is where you're gonna bring all your imported sequences, all your graphics, your audio, everything's gonna go in here. The composition is the place where you visualize what you're doing, and then here you have the timeline. So the timeline is where you're gonna drop in all your frames, and then here's where you have your effect controls, where you're gonna do all your keyframing and so on. So in this first one, I'm not gonna use keyframes yet. That would be on the next one. When I right click on my assets window or my project window, and I'm gonna say import file, and now I'm gonna bring in the walk cycle that I just created with all the frames placed on the location where I want them to be. Very important here, import as composition, retain layer sizes. What this does is that if you have a layer where you just have an arm, the asset is going to resize to the size of that arm instead of having the whole document size. So it doesn't make a huge difference, but for animation, in my experience, this has been easier. Click on open, and you're gonna have a folder where you have your layers, all your layers right there, and you also have your comp. Okay, so the comp has these funny shape icons. So if you double click it, it already has a setup in the timeline. So right now it's showing everything at the same time. If I play, you're not gonna notice anything because they're all showing at the same time. Okay, so we're gonna need to change our composition settings. How long do we want this walk cycle to be? So I go into composition, composition settings, and right here, very important as you're working on this project that you type in the actual dimensions of your screen, which is 1280 by 720. Okay. Sometimes you're gonna have this by default is gonna be checked, which is the lock at aspect ratio. So you actually just wanna type in those values. You set up your frame rate. Okay. So theoretically, our eyes makes animation out of images if it's faster than 10 frames per second. Okay, so now we have movies that are recorded at 60 frames per second, so give you a more natural feel. The only thing is that if you're animating, it's a lot of drawings. So if you know that you don't need that many drawings, you can actually lower it down. 24 is for cinema, 30 is for video, or 29.97 actually, more exactly. But you can actually play with these ranges and see how your animation looks under these different frame rates. I'm gonna go for 15 frames per second. Uh, and then I have my new size. That's good. Oh yeah, and the last thing that I forgot to change was on my composition settings is the duration. Right now the duration is 1 second. Okay, starts in 0 and it ends on second 1. So it will roughly have a 15 frames per second. It might have just 15 frames, which is okay. All right, so now all you have to do is take your comp and imagine you're in Photoshop in time. So I'm gonna do these steps. Each of these bars represents 1 frame. I have 0 frames, 1 frames. Depending on the scale that you're working on, this might be 3 seconds. The key is that you realize that you are showing and hiding layers in time. This is all we're doing. And I'm just having each of the layer show for 1 frame. That's what I'm doing with this image. So if I'm here, frame 1, frame 2, frame 3, frame 4, frame 5, frame 6. Now let's play it here under preview. Awesome. Now the last thing I need to do is my work area. I can adapt it right here on the top of the timeline. I'm going to drag my work area. And here where it says range, make sure that it says work area. And I'll click play. It's going pretty fast. Let's slow him down. Or her. Okay. So basically all you have to do is now it's 2 frames. So you just arrange these graphics in time. So once you get this part, it's going to be fairly easy. Okay. Now I'm going to readjust my work area. Then play. That's more feasible, right? Oh, you know what? Another thing is like my preview frame rate is at 24 frames per second. So that's going to be another variable. So if I do 15, awesome. Okay. So that's a loop. Let's say you want to copy. I'm not sure if this is going to work. I'm going to experiment here. If I take this one, Control C, then put my bar there, Control V. Oh, it kind of worked. Let me see if I can move all of these at once. Oh yeah, there we go. So there's my loop right there. I got 2 cycles. Except I'm gonna make my timeline bigger. Oh yeah, I ran out of space here, so I gotta make my composition slightly fit. I'll make it 2 seconds. There we go. And yep, adjust my work area. And now I'm going to, you can save that. And now we're gonna export what you will actually submit, which is the video. So you do File, Export, Add to Adobe Media encoder Q. And here, these are gonna be the same settings that you will use for your final animation. It will load this program that is a mini program for just rendering in After Effects and Premiere. You want to choose as your encoder H.264. This is the one that YouTube uses, and it means MP4. This is MP4 compression. You're gonna have different presets. I believe that if you say match source, that should use your project settings, but you can also use the presets here. The only thing is that if you change your frame rate, it will force that new frame rate. So, and then click on this link as well if you want to change the name. Walkcycle 2. You choose the location, and then click play. And then it will render your video. So now I look at my walk cycle 2, and then there it is.